close. I'm so close now. I'm closer than I've been, and it's making me crazy because I can smell it. It's in the air, and I smell it. Do you smell it? Because I smell it. I am close. I'm so close now.
And, ladies and gentlemen, football is officially back in the NFL 2024 edition. This is Endzone to Endzone with myself, Ryan Neff. Guy over here, over there, that's Mike Fuji, not Mr. Saito. He and I were hanging out earlier today at one Miller's Ale House over there in Northeast Philly,
Yes, sir.
watching some of the early games. Fuji, how you doing?
Pretty good. Week 1 almost in the books. Rams Detroit tonight. Jets 49ers tomorrow. Birds 1-0. Chiefs 1-0 on your side.
Yep.
I mean, Dallas came to play, took care of business. Giants, I don't know where they got those Montreal Canadian uniforms.
Horrible,
But
terrible.
they better gather them up, shine them up real nice, flush them down the toilet, and just go back to when they had LT56, because that's just, not only did they get blown the hell out, those uniforms you could wipe something with, wipe your furniture, wipe whatever. I mean, that's just a flat out joke. I don't know what's going on up there in that side of North Jersey, but hopefully the Jets will come tomorrow, because I don't know. Not only the Giants being a disgrace, you let Barkley walk. Thank you for that. But then you put out these putrid Montreal Canadian uniforms, which are just like, there's no end in sight for that organization. Brian Dobb will be fired probably in about 3 weeks. So, Danny Dimes, you're not far behind. Malik Neighbors was supposed to be like this stud in fantasy football. Week 1, he probably didn't do jack shit. But excuse the expression, but Giants just flat out suck.
It's almost like they took their helmets and the rest of their uniforms. They had a big vat of paint, and they just threw everything in the vat of paint of different colors. If you looked at their helmets, it was like Michigan Wolverine-esque. I mean, what the hell does that have to do with a Giant? Nothing.
I don't know.
That should be the only time that they ever break those uniforms out. This should be once and done, because they were horrendous and putrid, just like the football team. Hopefully coming up within the hour, we have Lou Dipietro. You can reach him at Lou Dipietro, WFAN. He is the Mid-Atlantic digital lead at Odyssey Sports, at WFAN 660, at Sports Radio WIP, at 1067 The Fan, at Team 980. It also says he's an ex-Paul Heyman guy. He loves chicken parmesan. He is TJ's dad, and all of his opinions are his. Fuji, let's do a recap so far. There's only one game left. So let's just go down the games here. Steelers beat the Falcons 18-10. It was a defensive struggle throughout. Justin Fields started. Russell Wilson didn't, although Russell Wilson was in uniform. He wasn't going to play anyway. Justin Fields 17-23. No turnovers. That's the key. Pittsburgh rushing. They rushed the ball 41 times for 137 yards. Let's see. 17 receptions by receivers for 156 yards. Ladies and gentlemen, the Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins, yeah. The man has fleeced teams over the years. He is a multimillionaire, and he continues to suck. He was 16-26 for 155 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Bijan Robinson, again, only 18 carries, 68 yards. They continue not to use him. 5 catches, 43 yards. Fuji, I picked the Falcons to win this game. I didn't know what Cousins was going to be coming off that injury, but How do you like that? How do you like that, Kirk Cousins? How do you like that? Fuji, he's just he's a serviceable quarterback. He's just not going to get you real far.
Oh, coming off an Achilles, it's what it is, and I don't know. Well, you're right there. I thought the Falcons would have won this game. Pittsburgh beat up their offensive line. They picked up Patrick Queen in the offseason. Traded Deontay Williams to Carolina. Just, I don't know. I don't know is Pittsburgh that good or is Atlanta that bad? I don't know. It's, want to see the preview what the Falcons looked like today. I'm not really impressed.
No.
Week 2, they're coming into the combat zone in the Philly next week, and I'm going to say this now. I think the Eagles should drop the hammer on this team. It was all right. Still shaking out the cobwebs. Nobody really played weak in the preseason for the Eagles, but Kirk Cousins, the Eagles own Kirk Cousins on Monday night. Guy sucks in prime time flat out. So I'm expecting Eagles to wipe this Atlanta Falcons team up and down the field in 8 days. Maybe you think different.
No.
But Pittsburgh, I don't know. It's just Mike Tomlin's just the guy hasn't won in a long time, but the guy's a great coach. No matter who they throw out, they give this man the organization, they find ways to win. Got to give Mike Tomlin props.
Difference in the game, obviously, Pittsburgh turned it over none. The Falcons turned it over 3 times with the 1 fumble and 2 picks by Cousins. And again, turnovers kill. It was a defensive struggle. But again, Atlanta Falcons fans, I feel for you. If anybody thought he was going to be the Messiah in Atlanta or the Savior, forget it, because he's not. Again, serviceable quarterback. He's been in the league now. I think this is his 13th year. You know better than to make some of those throws. So,
I'll say this. Arthur Smith, ex-head coach in Atlanta, brought in by Pittsburgh to be the offensive coordinator. So, maybe he gave Mike Tomlin obviously some tidbits on Drake London and company and Bijan Robinson, but Pittsburgh was the victor today, and good for them. Want to know in the black and blue AFC division, going forward in the week 2.
Let's see. Next game, Bills Cardinals. Was able to see that. I was able to see a lot of these games. Bills come away with the win, 34-28. Cardinals were up. I think at one point 17-0. Bills came back. Cardinals got lackadaisical again. Kyler Murray, 21-31, 162, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. James Conner was your leading rusher for the Cardinals, 16 times for 50 yards and a touchdown. Greg Dortch was the leading receiver for the Cardinals, 6 catches, 47 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr., if you're keeping score, 1 catch, 4 yards.
Wow.
Yeah. On the other side of the equation, Josh Allen, 18-23, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. James Cook with a decent day. He had 19 carries, 71 yards. Josh Allen was the one. Well, Josh Allen had 2 touchdowns passing, 2 touchdowns running.
TDs for Josh Allen.
Keon Coleman was your leading Bills receiver. 4 catches, 51 yards.
Wow.
Khalil Shakir and Mac Hollins were the 2 receivers that scored the touchdown. If you want to take a look at the team stats, each turned it over 1 time. I really thought that the third downs, the Cardinals were 7 for 13. Buffalo was 3 and 9. But to be quite honest with you, Fuji, the Cardinals doing Cardinal type things. You're up 17-0, and then you get outscored 34-11 after that. So same thing in Cardinals land. They get up, they got a little cocky, they were feeling themselves a little bit, and the Bills come back, and again, it's the Cardinals.
Well, as I touched on as we were watching it there at Miller's, it was, not sold on Kyler Murray. Expect little more big things out of Marvin Harrison Jr. You're up 17-0. I mean, hey, Josh Allen's still turning it on, 4 touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 rushing. So, hey, got to give it to the better team, one of the better teams in the AFC, even though obviously it looks like Knox and Kincaid really didn't do much, but, the receivers stepped up when Josh Allen needed them to, and ran James Cook. So, hey, Buffalo 1-0 and Cardinals 0-1 in that NFC West division. No shock.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Look, no lead in the NFL is safe in today's NFL with the rules and stuff like that. But again, it's a lost opportunity for the Cardinals. It's
absolutely
just the Cardinals doing their thing. Titans Bears. If anybody who watched this, Titans got out to a 17-0 lead or a 16-0 lead. 17, I think it was 17-0. And again, Titans doing Titans type things. The Bears wind up coming back, scoring the last 24 points of the game. They win 24-17. If you're keeping score out there, ladies and gentlemen, for Tennessee, Will Levis was 19 of 32, 127 yards, 1 touch, 2 picks. It's one of the things I was worried about with him. If you're looking for rushing, Tony Pollard had a decent day, 16 carries, 82 yards, and a touch. Tennessee receiving, your Calvin Ridley, 3 for 50. Tyler Boyd, 3 for 18. DeAndre Hopkins had 1 catch for 8 yards. Caleb Williams struggled most of the day. He was 14 of 29 for 93 yards. DeAndre Swift was the leading rusher for them. 10 carries, 30 yards. And look, the passing game, DJ Moore, 5 catches for 36 yards. He was your leader. Chicago Bears had 2 pick sixes, ladies and gentlemen. And anybody that watched this game, again, turnovers kill. Will Levis, all we ask you to do is just let the playmakers make plays. Don't turn the ball over. Tennessee had 3 turnovers. Chicago had 1. And the 2 interceptions that Levis threw, Fuji, wound up being the difference.
Well, as we, 2 mediocre teams, probably bottom feeders. Who knows? The Bears, I'll say this, the Bears are supposed to have a pretty good underrated defense. So, Will Levis turning the ball 2 quick touchdowns, it's 12 to 14 points right there. So, the defense took care of it. Basically, the defense won that game for that Bears team. But like I said, going into the season, they signed Montez Sweat. They made some other moves. Bears didn't have a bad defense last year, but basically won it against Tennessee, which Tennessee does look good on paper. The Bears look a little solid on paper. So, props to the Bears defense for taking care of business and showing up. So, jury's out on both teams going into week 2.
Next game, which I thought was one of the surprises of the day. My Super Bowl pick from the AFC looked like shit today. You're at home against the Patriots, who are in rebuild mode. Patriots walk away with the win 16-10. Looking at the stats, New England passing, Jacoby Brissett was 15 of 24, 121 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Ramondre Stevenson with the big day, 25 carries, 120 yards, and a touch. The New England receiving game was basically non-existent. And then if you go to the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 21 of 29, 164, no touches, no picks. The rushing game, which I really thought bit them in the ass. Zach Moss was your leader at 9 carries for 44 yards and a touch. Receiving, Chase had 6 catches for 62 yards. He was your leading receiver for Cincy. Ladies and gentlemen, New England ran the ball for 170 yards. Cincinnati ran it for 70. And then if you want to take a step further, Bengals with the 2 turnovers. There were 2 fumbles. One, the tight end was going in for a touchdown. Burrow was sacked 3 times. Jacoby Brissett was only sacked once. So again, Fuge, if you want to take a look at it, I know it's a passing league, but you got to be able to run the football to control the clock. New England outrushed Cincinnati by 100 yards, and they turned Cincinnati over 2 times. That was the difference in the game.
Well, Brissett under center, one of the better backups in the league, filling in for Drake May right now. It's basically the Ramondre Stevenson show. So I don't know what's going on there. Jamar Chase fighting the flu all week. T. Higgins out. Not sure what's going on with Joe Barrow and those Cincinnati Bengals struggling over there. But, as you said, KC coming up for them in week 2. And you said you won't be shocked that, Cincinnati will roll into KC and knock them off. It's a big game. Maybe they took New England a little, took them lightly, and they're already on the week 2 and ready to maybe take care of business going up against the Chiefs.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering, Fuji is wearing the same shit that he was when we were at Miller's, and I am in the same shirt that I was when I was at.
Yeah, but where's your Chiefs at?
Hold on.
Chaser. Did you burn it? Here, why don't you burn it?
There it is.
No.
Got to give it a break every once in a while. I don't want to rub it in there.
Not at all.
Next game, Texans Colts. A hard-fought game. It was probably one of the better games of the day. The Texans come out on top 29-27. We go over the stats. Fuge, Houston, C.J. Stroud, efficient, 24-32 for 234 yards and 2 touches. Joe Mixon with the huge day. This is why he was brought here. The bell cow, Fuji, 30 carries, 159 yards, and a touch. Nico Collins had a huge day receiving. 6 receptions for 117 yards, but Stephon Diggs with the 2 touches, 6 catches, 33 yards, 2 touchdowns. Look, Mixon and Diggs were the 2 acquisitions. They came up huge. On the other side, Anthony Richardson, I had to take a double take. He was 9-19 for 212 yards, 2 touches, and a pick. Jonathan Taylor had 16 rushes, 48 yards, and a touchdown. He was your leading receiver. Alec Pierce, your leading receiver for the Colts. 3 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. When you go to the, let's see. Oh, C.J. Stroud was sacked 4 times for 30 yards. That offensive line looked shady at times or rough. Look, the Colts only had 1 turnover. The Texans had none. But really, where I thought the difference in the game, Fuji, was the fact that I just think Houston was a little bit more balanced. Overall, Fuji, Houston ran it 40 times for 213 yards. The Colts, 22 for 104. They outrushed them over 100 yards yet again, and that's where they won the football game, basically. When you can run the football like that effectively, sustain drives, like I said, Mixon came up huge. Again, the offensive line looks shoddy at times, but look, if you're going to try and vie for a championship, these are the types of games you have to win.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every time you would see replays, Indy was making the big plays, but at the end of the day, Diggs, Joe Mixon, both bringing veteran leadership and veteran presence to the young C.J. Stroud and company. D'Amico Ryans, they stepped up when they needed to. Hats off to Houston for pulling that one out, because really that game was back and forth. It was like you said, one of the better games of the day, and it was definitely a heavyweight fight. And, Houston the victor. So props to D'Amico Ryans, C.J. Stroud and company going 1-0 in that NFC South.
And here's the thing: it was only a 2-point game. A couple of big plays that Indy had. Ladies and gentlemen, Houston ran 76 plays. Indianapolis ran 43, and the Texans only won by 2. So,
Still, it's a divisional game, and
yeah,
week 1, week 16, 17, whatever it is, everybody's always going to fight till the death. Doesn't matter if you're a bad team against the worst team or a great team and the worst team. It's still going to be a divisional battle.
Dolphins Jaguars. Dolphins come away with the victory, 20-17. They were down 17-0 at one point. Again, the Jags doing Jag type things. We go over the stats. Trevor Lawrence, 12 of 21, 162 and a touch, no picks. Ladies and gentlemen, Tank Bigsby was the leading rusher for Jacksonville. 12 carries, 73 yards, although Etienne had the touchdown. Your receiving core, which somebody's talking to me, Fuji. I don't know who's talking. Oh, anyway. Gabe Davis, 3 catches, 62 yards. Brian Thomas Jr. caught a touchdown. On the other side, Tua Tagovailoa, 23 of 37, 338 yards and a touch, no picks. The leading rusher was between Jeff Wilson and David Achane. David Achane had 10 carries, 24 yards. Jeff Wilson, 5 carries, 26 yards. Receiving, of course, Hill and Waddle went off. Tyreek Hill, 7 catches, 130 yards and a touch. Waddle, 5 catches, 109 yards. And Devon Achane with 7 carries, 76 yards. If you want to go to the team stats overall, Fuge, each team had 3 sacks. Miami turned it over none. Jacksonville once. Jacksonville got complacent, but I had to circle down here. Third down efficiency, Fuji. Jacksonville was 2 of 10. Dolphins were 8 of 16. I thought that's where, when you can't be efficient on third down, and you can't sustain drives, you're only going to be able to sustain the lead for so long.
Well, hey, that's pretty much the outcome. Not to really dive into it at this point as we're going around the league, but I don't know what's all with Tyreek Hill being cuffed.
Yep.
Calais Campbell coming out tried to de-escalate the situation. He was cuffed by Miami police for whatever the reason, but hey, that news broke early this morning, and hey, props to Miami for pulling it out. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming out about that situation over the next couple of days or whatnot.
But again, these are the types of games, Fuji, that it was a gut check for them early on. These are the kinds of games you have to win. They came down from 17 points down, and they win the football game again. Hopefully, coming on soon is Lou Dipietro. He covers New York, probably getting the Giants and the Jets. Hopefully.
Jets.
One of the games that absolutely sucked. The Saints blew out the Panthers. I said it wasn't going to be much better this year for Carolina, and it started off horrendously. This game wasn't close anywhere throughout the entire game. Saints jumped out to a huge lead and then coasted. Stats, Bryce Young, 13 of 30, 161 yards, 2 picks, no touchdowns. Your leading rusher for Carolina was Miles Sanders, 5 carries, 22 yards. The leading receiver was Adam Thielen, 3 catches, 49 yards. And then on the flip side, Derek Carr, 19 of 23, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Saints. Alvin Kamara, 15 carries, 83 yards and a touch. Rashid Shaheed, 3 catches, 73 yards and a touch. Ladies and gentlemen, Carolina ran the ball 20 times for a measly 58 yards. New Orleans ran it 37 times for 180 yards. If you want to look at some of the other team stats, Brian Young was sacked 4 times. Carolina turned it over 3 times. New Orleans won. And again, I will circle this. On third down, Carolina was 1 of 10, and New Orleans was 7 for 13. That's really all you need to know.
Wow. Well, hey, say third downs make a difference. So, well, I mean,
Carolina is going to be bad, Fuji.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I think the Little Sisters of the Poor will beat the Carolina Panthers. You know what? It's like I said, an NFC South is like it was last year. Now, New Orleans, they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. I don't know what team is a Jekyll and Hyde team. That to do. I mean, to me, that's like no disrespect to Tampa or whoever, but it's like the trash or the garbage in the NFL right now. I don't know. I mean, really, if you want to sit here, we could analyze every division, but I mean, it's all for grabs. Now, I know if Tampa obviously smoked Washington, but I mean, it's like, draw straws at this point. Atlanta's supposed to be this juggernaut. Tampa's got the weapons. New Orleans could have the weapons, but who the hell knows? So blindfold yourself and draw a straw. I don't know. Throw my hands in the air. Wave them around like you're just in the air.
Vikings, Giants. This was a shit show by New York.
Keep boots.
28-6 was your final. The stats: Minnesota, Darnold, 19 of 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Team rushing: Aaron Jones was effective, 14 carries, 94 yards and a touch. Leading receiver: Justin Jefferson, 4 catches, 59 yards and a touch. Daniel Jones, yes, Danny Dimes, 22 of 42, 186 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Your leading rusher was Devin Singletary, 10 carries, 37 yards. Malik Neighbors, your leading receiver, 5 catches, 66 yards. Daniel Jones was sacked 5 times. And let's see. The New York Giants were 7 of 18 on third downs, but they were playing from behind. Both teams equaled 2 turnovers apiece. But look, the Giants are bad. They only ran the ball 26 times for 111 yards. Or I'm sorry, the Giants ran the ball 70. What is this? Now my laptop's messing with me now, Fuji. Let me go back to it here. They ran the ball 21 times for 74 yards. The Vikings ran it 26 times for 111 yards. But look, yeah, if any Giants fan or any pundits across this land think that Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback in the NFL in now his 5th season, it's not going to happen. You know what you have, Fuji. It's not going to happen. You let Barkley walk because maybe he's a little injury prone. Maybe they felt like he was doing a disservice to him. But look, it's not good.
Well, those Montreal Canadiens. I don't know who in that PR department came up with those goddamn uniforms. You know what? There's been a lot of bad uniforms in the NFL. And I'll even say when the Eagles wore those blue and gold uniforms in 2008,
yeah, those are
as
bad
much
too.
as I hate to say it, but I think those Giants / Montreal Canadiens got to top it because they were just friggin' putrid. Along with that play is just, I don't even know if we should even have this conversation. Like, this is like, you showcase this garbage along with that trash. Like the it's bad enough the Meadowlands, it's a bunch of garbage. Whether Jimmy Hoffa was there or whatever. But I mean, it's definitely the worst kind of turf in the NFL. You know, Aaron Rodgers, hopefully he'll resurrect his career this year. But if you're a Giants fan, I feel for you. The Jets, I feel more for them because just hopefully they'll turn their season around. But just getting to the point, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be a Jets fan or a Giants fan at this point. More so Giants. I mean, you could just, I don't know, you might as well just play for the number one pick. If you can even get that right. Ryan Dobble, he'll be packing his bags. Maybe Danny Dimes not far behind, but in New York, I wouldn't want to be a football fan these days, folks. I'm an Eagles fan. You know, taught to not like the other three teams, but I'll take my hats off to the Giants fans. I'm sorry. Thanks for Barkley, by the way.
Raiders Chargers, one of the later games. Chargers come away with the victory, 22-10. I actually picked the Raiders to win this. Stats: Minshew, 25 of 33, 257, a touchdown and a pick. Don't think the pick that he had, the ball was actually tipped, so I really wouldn't consider it an interception. I don't know what it is with teams not wanting to run the football. Your leading rusher for Vegas was Amir White, 13 carries, 44 yards. The leading receiver, Jacoby Myers, 3 catches, 61 yards. And on the other side, Justin Herbert really wasn't asked to do a whole hell of a lot. He was 17 of 26, 144 yards, a touchdown, no picks. J.K. Dobbins, 10 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown.
Really?
Yeah.
And he resurrected as well. Whoa.
Well, him and Gus Edwards.
About injuries.
Yeah.
That man's from leg with injuries.
Ladd McConkey, leading receiver from Georgia, 5 catches, 39 yards, and a touch. Gardner Minshew was sacked 4 times.
Wow.
If we go to the team stats,
let's hear about Devontae Adams, Mr. Unhappy Devontae Adams.
Vegas turned it over 3 times. They actually had 2 fumbles. Thought that was the difference in the game, Fuji. Where the turnovers, Devontae Adams had 5 catches for 59 yards, no touchdowns. So, again, I know we like
talk about quarter.
I know we talk about Brock Bowers had 6 catches for 58 yards, so he did okay. But Fuji
contribution.
Yeah, look, we talk about it all the time. It's a receiver and quarterback league right now, but Vegas only rushed it 22 times for 71 yards. Los Angeles ran it 27 times, 176 yards, coupled with 3 turnovers by Vegas. The fact that they got outrushed, over 2-1. I mean, they turned the ball over 3 times. Fuji, that was basically the difference in the game.
Oh, San Diego, Oakland, San Diego, Los Angeles, really no matter. Really playing in a division where either team's not even going to be a factor. It's Kansas City's division to lose. I'm sure they'll run away with it by midway through the season. Unless Sean Payton and Bo Nix can be Puff the Magic Dragon, what have you. But in that division, ain't nobody catching Kansas City unless a miracle occurs. But I don't know. Just another flat out 4:30 game that's really probably just a snooze fest. Unless you're in it for fantasy purposes, which a lot of us are, and prop betting, and that's a snooze fest. It shouldn't even be on the TV. Sorry.
Broncos Seahawks, which I thought was a decently competitive game there for a little while.
Seahawks, old AFC matchup, AFC West.
Seahawks won at 26-20. We look at Denver, Bo Nix, a little bit of a rough game, 26 of 42. I mean, you can't expect a rookie to throw it 42 times. but he was 26 of 42, 138 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. Your leading your leading rusher, Bo Nix, 5 carries, 35 yards, and a touch, although James McLaughlin carried it 10 times for 27 yards. Ooh. Devon Vele had 8 catches for 39 yards. Josh Reynolds, 5 for 45. I think their whole receiving corps stinks anyway. On the flip side, I say Seattle goes as Geno Smith goes. He was 18 to 25, 171 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Kenneth Walker with a good game, 20 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett, the old man, your leading receiver, 6 catches for 77 yards. If you go to the overall team stats, Booj, I mean, Denver turned it over 3 times. Seattle turned it over twice. But again, I hate to harp on the fact about the rushing stats, but Denver rushed it 24 for 99, Carolina 33 for 146. You sort of see a pattern here, Fuji. Again, if you can run the ball, take time off the clock, limit the other team's possessions, you are going to have a chance to win. And I thought that was the case again here.
Well, I don't know. I just, all these hopes about Bo Nix, Sean coming out, rumors, Sean Payton's, gem in the draft, if you will. As we talked about, Mike McCarthy coming over from Baltimore, being the defensive coordinator, taking over for Pete Carroll last year. I don't know. I mean, where's DK Metcalf and all this? Like, he's supposed to be the legitimate number one in Seattle, probably double and triple team with Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigma, being supposedly, coming into playing the wide receiver 2 over Tyler Lockett. But, hey, Tyler Lockett, the old man of the 3, so, 70-some yards. So, not sold on Geno Smith, and it's just another, I don't know, Seattle in the AFC West going up against the Rams and, the favored 49ers, and Denver just playing in another division, trying to battle with second place with the Raiders and the Chargers. So it's just another snooze fest. Now it's week 1. Anybody can turn it around. Hey, who knows? Any given Sunday, but I don't know. It's just a long day.
DK Metcalf, 3 catches, 29 yards. Just so there you have it.
Oh, that sucks. But
Browns Cowboys. I picked Cleveland to win this game. What the hell was I thinking? The Cowboys dominated from the opening kick. Let's go to the stats. Dak Prescott today with a pedestrian 19 to 32, 479 yards and a touch. Your leading rusher, which I think is going to be the Cowboys' downfall this season anyway. Zeke Elliott, 10 carries, 40 yards, 1 touchdown. Leading receiver, CeeDee Lamb, 5 receptions, 61 yards. Deshaun Watson, or whatever, he looked bad. He was 24 of 45, 169 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. He was sacked 6 times. Wow. Jerome Ford was your leading rusher, 12 carries, 44 yards, and a touch.
Wow.
Your leading receiver was your tight end, 4 catches for 44 yards, David Njoku. Jerome Ford had 6 catches for 25 yards. People are keeping track. Amari Cooper had 2 catches for 16 yards. He dropped a sure touchdown pass. If we go to the team stats, Fuge, Cleveland turned it over twice. Dallas, none. Both teams were bad on third down efficiency. But look, if you watch that game, Deshaun Watson was running for his life. That offensive line was overmatched. They got overpowered. The whole Browns team collectively was putrid. I don't know what it's going to take for Deshaun to get back to what he was, but let's face it, After 3 years, I don't think he's going to get back to what he was, Fuge. And again, he has fleeced the Browns. The Browns just continue to do stupid stuff, management wise. And Kevin Stefanski is going to be on the hot seat sooner or later, as well as the GM for making that deal for Deshaun.
No, no doubt. I mean, he gave the man guaranteed money for probably 4 to 5 years, and it's just I don't know what it is. No, Stefanski, coach of the year, probably one of the better defenses, but I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if their offensive line's just. I mean, let's face it, they just got manhandled.
They got their ass kicked.
Asses handed to them.
Yeah.
Like, I thought Cleveland was going to just drop the hammer. Like, Dallas and all this disarray, just paying Dak. I mean, hey, I'll say this. CeeDee Lamb just looked like he was in midseason form today. You know, didn't look like he lost the beat, not being no training camp. Obviously, I guess he kept his body in good shape enough to just get by this. No, I call it like it is. Can't stand Dallas, Eagles fan, but you know they took care of business and dropped the hammer on Cleveland, and you know both they're 1-0 right now with the Eagles in the NFC, and it's barring injury, it's probably just going to come down to Eagles Dallas, and Dak got the bags, reset the market at $60 million for the next 4 years, and CeeDee Lamb got paid last week. I guess Parsons will get paid at some point. Like, how do you let your star players? And now, of course, we all know Jerry doesn't help his franchise by being the face, but he takes care of his own, and it's I don't know what's up with Cleveland, Cincinnati. I mean, the Ravens the other night in Pittsburgh squeaked it out. And, you would have thought they would be, one of the better divisions, but it's who knows? Like, I don't know what's up with Deshaun. Chubb's on the pup list for 2-3 weeks, so anything could. It's 1 week, so anything could happen. But who the hell knows? I don't think Deshaun Watson just is himself like he was in Houston, as you said.
Buccaneers and the Commanders. Buccaneers win the game 37-20. I know a lot of people would pick Washington. I was not one of them. Jaden Daniels, 17-24, no touchdowns, no picks, which was good. He was your leading rusher. Go figure. 16 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Your leading rusher was Austin Eckler for 4 receptions for 52 yards. Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield with an outstanding day. 24-30, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. Bucky Irving was your lead rusher. 9 carries, 62 yards. Yep. Receiving wise, Chris Godwin, 8 catches, 83 yards, and a touch. Mike Evans, 5 catches, 61 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Go figure. You would expect those guys to be your leading receivers. Again, Baker with the great day. Just like looking, Washington was 2 of 8 on third downs. Tampa Bay was 9 of 13. So yes. Neither team turned the ball over. Again, it wasn't like Washington played bad. Right. It's just that they could not sustain drive. They just couldn't get off the. I mean, they couldn't stay on the field. So
my man ex-Eagle Zach Ertz. Do you have any receptions?
Zach Ertz had 3 catches for 28 yards. But again, I thought it's going to take a while for Washington to get some cohesiveness. Again, Jaden Daniels played well. No turnovers, which is key. Right. It's just Fuji. A lot of 3 and outs, and you can't expect to win in the National Football League when you're not on the field. So,
rookie quarterback, new coach and staff. Dan Quinn under at the helm there, new ownership. So, knows I still think Washington, growing pains. Still think they're going to make a little bit of noise in the NFL. Ain't saying playoffs, ain't saying they're going to win the division, but I still think Jaden Daniels is going to make noise in the NFL. So, everything takes a little time. Preseason's preseason. It's a copycat league. So.
You just say New Orleans is going to win the division?
No, I didn't say New Orleans. I said just now. I said Washington may make some noise. I didn't say playoffs. I didn't say win the division. They'll win a few games, but can't be any worse than the Montreal, New York / Giants, Canadians at this point. I mean, man.
And I see Mr. Lou Dipietro. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. The man with a lot of vowels. Let's bring him on stage. Lou, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey guys, sorry it took me so long. Had some things pop up here late with some stuff, and doing commander stuff, and lost track of time.
Lou,
so
welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you for coming on. It's I don't know, not to get into your shirt, but is that Doink the Clown?
Yes, it is actually. As a matter of fact,
nice, nice throwback from the WWF, not WWE, World Wrestling Federation. I'm an old school fan.
So yes, that's it is Doink the Clown. Good call.
That's
good
great. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, go Birds. Good to see we're represented here.
Yeah.
Lou,
Eagles fan who lives and works in New York and also covers DC sports. I get around the NFC East. So,
all right. So, do you cover New York at all?
Do I come into New York at all?
No. Do you cover New York at all?
Oh, yeah. So, my job right now is kind of crazy. We have a region. Our WFAN, WIP in Philly, and 106.7 The Fan in DC. Right. So I am in charge of all three of those.
Okay.
So I do a little fan. I do a little JFK. Not so much Philly. Our guy in Philly is pretty self-sufficient.
Who's your guy in Philly?
I dabble in DC and I dabble in New York.
Who's your guy in Philly? ESP?
Andrew Porter is our digital editor in Philly for WIP.com.
All right. I was going to say Elliot Shore Parks.
ESP works with us as well. He's doing more on-air stuff these days than the written word, but up until about last year, he was a pretty heavy part of our coverage too. So
okay, I know we
got a good team down there.
I know he started with New Jersey NJ.com.
Lou, I got to start off with it. When is the Giants organization going to finally realize Daniel Jones just isn't the guy? I think this is his 5th year. He sucked today. He is not a starting NFL quarterback. I know they paid him the money. They let Saquon go. But look, I've seen enough of Daniel Jones to know he is not an NFL quarterback.
Let me tell you what, Mike, I see you laughing over there. I know a certain running back is certain running back's on pace for 51 touchdowns this season total. I forget his name. Something.
I'm not even laughing at that performance today.
He's laughing at the uniforms, is what he's laughing at.
What is with the Montreal Canadiens? Jesus.
Oh. Were you waiting for Guy Lafleur to come out on punt coverage or something like that?
Mike.
I mean, not for nothing, but God. I mean, you always talk, I'll say this, Giants fan, always a class organization, but why that trash? I mean,
yeah, I mean, there's the
fan? I mean, those poor fans up there. I mean, God.
There's those throwbacks, man. They just there's the ones that I forget who it is that looks like the UCLA Bruins. I think it's the Packers ones that are like the blue and yellow. And
yeah,
listen, the uniforms were one of the least ugly things on the field at MetLife today. To your question, Ryan.
Yeah, but that just didn't make it any better.
No, it doesn't. It does not help the aesthetic in any way, shape, or form, right? To answer your question, Ryan, I don't know. Today's not going to be it. Obviously, it's week 1. But if you were following my Twitter by chance today, I tweeted out somewhere in the end 3rd, early 4th that I didn't see anything in that game that made me think, oh, this is just a bad game. They're not ready. I mean, Malik Neighbors is going to give you 2 or 3 highlight reel plays a week, and that's going to be about all you're going to get. It looks like from this team. They just, all week on our radio station, we'd been talking, Giants and Dayball calling the plays and things like that, and he finally admitted it, and Boomer had noticed it during the Texans game when they started taking more downfield shots in that preseason game. Their 2 longest plays today were zone coverage, soft spot drop-ins on 3rd and long. They didn't have a single home run, a single explosive, a single, I don't know if they had a 10-yard play other than those two, the one that Neighbors made early on, which was a great, just kind of found the soft spot in the zone, made the catch, turned, made a 25-yard run. I think it was Wan'Dale Robinson had the other one, on the 3rd and 26 where he got a ton of yards when they were just don't let him get 26. Because, not every team can defend 4th and 26, as we know, Mike. So, they just didn't have any, Devin Singletary is fine, but as an RB1 for a team that you want to be a winner, I don't know. He wasn't that in Buffalo, and that's why they got rid of him. The wide receiving core is the same group of guys with Malik Neighbors. And again, Malik Neighbors will make you some highlight reel plays, but Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton aren't beating you. Daniel Bellinger ain't beating you. As good of a couple of catches as Theo Johnson had today, he was looking pretty decent. This is a team that has, let's hope they win 6 games, but let's not, because if they do, then they'll have a 5th or 6th or 7th pick again. And they're going to be in that Malik Neighbors territory. And listen, they were in a tough spot when they gave Daniel Jones that contract, right? Dayball's first year, they had success. Is it the fool's gold? Is it, something new? Is he really this? Last year proved, he wasn't necessarily that, and then he got hurt, so you can't judge too much. I mean, Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor did what they could.
Right.
But, if Daniel Jones is the guy this year and they win 5, 6, even 7 games, I mean, that contract is going to be an albatross. And you sort of have to start to begin the succession plan, because I don't know if Brian Daboll is going to survive a non-winning season. Honestly, I don't. This is the same roster he's had in a lot of spots for 3 years now. Okay, yeah, no Saquon, but they added Neighbors. Yeah, they lost McKinney, but they added Brian Burns. The pass rush has been talked up as, we got Dexter Lawrence and we got Burns, and we're going to combine and do this. And Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence had a couple of great plays. I don't think I heard Kenny Albert call Brian Burns' name once all day. Same with Thibodeau. It's not like the Vikings offensive line is the Hogs or anything, but they didn't get any pressure. Sam Darnold had all day to throw. I mean, Sam Darnold did that to them. Yes, he has Justin Jefferson. I get it. Sam Darnold and a running back by committee did that to them.
I'm not sold on Minnesota or Sam Darnold by no means necessary. I mean, it's Sam Darnold. It's not, to me, it's not saying much. I mean,
I think he's a better quarterback for his time in San Francisco.
Right.
And part of that is because you can't not be with that, with what you can learn there from those offensive minds. A better quarterback than he was in New York with the Jets is, again, subjective,
Right. I don't know.
I
mean, I don't know. I'm baffled, because it's I mean, I've seen the Eagles at their worst. 3-13, 1998 was just flat out putrid.
The end of the Ray Rhodes era.
And it was just I mean, honestly, to see the Giants in this predicament the last couple of years is kind of shocking, because they always seem like a team that were always in it for the division. I mean, you probably go back before it was, I don't know if you remember, Brian will remember, but before the Parcells and Sam Perkins era. Was it Sam Perkins? No.
Well, I mean, I'm a child of the Parcells era, so I have, and I lived here most of my life. So I have, even though I'm not a Giants fan, I have that more knowledge of, of their ebbs and flows over the years, and the Phil Simms LT era. And
Right.
I think that, and this is tough to say, because I think Joe Shane can be a very good executive in the NFL.
Right.
I think their salary cap situation, where they were left with Gettleman and Jerry Reese before that, the cavalcade of coaches, and I can joke all I want with some of our hosts about how much I love Saquon, and he's always been my favorite Giants running back of all time, and also make Tiki mad at the same time by doing that.
Right.
But this really goes back to 2017. They just kind of stunk. They had that draft class that's like, oh yeah, those guys. With Evan Ingram and Delvin Tomlinson, and I mean their third round pick is coaching.
Yep.
That's how bad that draft class is. And they fired McAdoo, and Spags took over, and they fired Jerry Reese, and Gettleman took over, and it's 2018, and we're going in, and we have this optimism anew, and all this stuff is great. And they hire Pat Shurmur, which, listen, I've heard it all about the Dan Quinn hire in DC over the last 6, 7, 8 months.
Right.
At least Dan Quinn won something in the NFL once.
Mm-hmm.
Shurmur was a thing. I mean, yeah, okay, so he was the end of Andy Reid era. Chip Kelly comes in. He's the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. So. He does whatever, right?
Right.
I don't know if he was the right guy. And then I don't care how good the player projects to be. You do not draft a non-quarterback or offensive tackle, offensive player in the top 3. You just don't. And Saquon was great as a rookie, and he was looking to be great until he tore his ACL, and he was pretty good last year. But I mean, that draft class, they took Saquon, and then their next pick in the second round was Will Hernandez. And you heard his name around here for years, and it was always like, this guy, Will Hernandez, what the hell is wrong with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't, I mean, he wasn't really good. There's no way to say it. I mean, I don't mean to disparage the guy, but their drafts were just poor for 3 or 4 years, and picking Saquon, they picked the wrong coach after wrong coach after wrong coach, and it's just like they had to clean house a couple years ago when Gettleman left and they fired Joe Judge quickly, and it was like, okay, we've got this revolving door, but we got to do something. And honestly, the Daniel Jones class, I mean, that's where Dexter Lawrence came from. Julian Love, has made the Pro Bowl too. I know he's in Seattle now, but he played well. DeAndre Baker was on that team for a little while before he ran into some issues. They were drafting guys for this scheme that doesn't seem to work, and they continued to make it try to work, and it never worked. So they had a very ill-fitting roster up until 2 years ago when they had that success with Daniel Jones. And Daboll did what most coaches would like to do ideally if you can fully start over, which is something Dan Quinn did in DC this year. I mean, they turned over 60% of their roster. But, look at the guys Dan Quinn brought in DC. He brought in Dorrance Armstrong from Dallas. He brought in Bobby Wagner, who he's known for a long time, from Seattle. He's brought in who's the other defense? Cleveland Farrell, who some of the guys know. They brought in a bunch of guys that they know they fit this system. This year's a wash. The Commanders win 4 games this year. They win 9 games this year. It doesn't really make a difference. The idea is set the tone, build the system, develop Jaden Daniels. The Giants never really seemed to have that trajectory. They sort of thought, it seemed like to me, that we plugged in Saquon, we plugged in Daniel Jones. We've got 2 top 6 draft picks in our backfield. We should be good. And then they added Evan Neal, and it's like, okay, yeah, you have a bunch of top 10 picks on offense, but if none of them are any good and they don't work well together, who cares? And I think that's where they are now, is that they just, I look at that starting offense and I wonder, what would Jalen Hurts look like behind that offense? What would Patrick Mahomes look like behind that offense?
Right.
I mean, not even that level, guys. What would Baker Mayfield? I mean, look what he did today in Tampa. What would he look like behind that offense?
Right.
Probably not that. So I think they really just sort of failed, and then they paid Daniel Jones because maybe he was the guy, and he was kind of the guy, and you have that first-time GM head coach thing going on where it's like if he goes somewhere else and balls out, we look stupid. You still look stupid because you gave a guy $40 million a year who's an average to mediocre NFL quarterback, and you give him no weapons and a terrible offensive line. I mean, you can win a baseball game with a team of 9 Babe Ruths, but if you have 1 Babe Ruth and 8 replacement players, you're probably not winning a lot of games.
Right.
There you go. So I think that's where they're just stuck in that perpetual slide, and it might take a legit, tank season. Everyone gets fired, blow the entire thing up, keep the handful of guys that will succeed in any system like Dexter Lawrence and, some of their younger players and neighbors, obviously, and go from there. Because,
I mean, how many games do you really see Dable really lasting? I mean, you already talk about coaches. Hey, going into this year, it's like, hate to say it, but Nick Sirianni probably is still in the hot seat.
Well, yeah, and probably rightfully so, but with 2 new coordinators and changed everything around, and maybe you got a little smack in the face kind of thing, with his kind of cocky style, which, I mean, the team went to the Super Bowl and then lost both of their coordinators to head coaching jobs. You had to expect a little something.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's the norm.
With Daboll, I hesitate to think that Joe Shane will fire him in season unless somebody steps in and fires Joe Shane mid-season. If John Mara steps in and says, no, we need to go in a different direction, and then they both go. Because, I mean, even Joe Judge got to the end of that 4-13 season when it looked like, I'll call it the Ron Rivera stay of execution last year, where they didn't fire him for the sole reason that nothing that they did was going to change anything anyway, so you might as well keep him around. Shermer got his 2 years. McAdoo got his year and change. He was the one that was fired midseason when they went from 11-5 to 3-13. But I mean, again, this is his 3rd season now, 9-7-1 playoffs. Everybody's happy. They regress. If they don't win at least 7 games this year and do better than last year with theoretically a better quarterback, I don't know. I don't know if this might be the time with the way Jones's contract is. Neighbors is 1 year in. They've got a couple of big guys on there. They just re-signed Lawrence to that big deal a year or 2 ago, and now might be the time to try it again. But how many times can you go every 3 years and keep trying it again?
Right.
It's a shame because it's I'm an Eagles fan, but I grew up in New York area. The Giants are, you think of the marquee franchises in football. The Giants are the Yankees, the Lakers, that level, like as well as the Cowboys, the Steelers. Those teams are the marquee franchises, and they've just been.
Oh yeah,
they're 2 hot Eli Manning runs away from being the most mediocre team in football for the last quarter century. Let's be honest.
Early on, if anybody's wondering, 3-3 tied in the second quarter, Rams-Lions. We got a few minutes. Well, we're a little bit over, but I'll ask anyway. What do we make of this? The Redskins. I almost said whatever the hell they call them. What do we make of that Jaden Daniels debut, which I thought was good? How do you think that the Eagles performed? And then lastly, what do you expect from the Jets tomorrow?
How do I think the Eagles performed? I think that field was an abomination, and I think it took them a little while to get going. I think the defense struggled early on. I think the offense still needs to realize that there's more than 3 players out there for Jalen Hurts to give the ball to. 4 now because Saquon running back counts. But I think, there's enough to be worried about there yesterday, even in a win. But I think there's a lot to be like, well, you can maybe chalk that up to the field and being in Brazil. So we'll see what happens next week with them. Jaden Daniels, I thought for what that was, you saw flashes, you saw moments, you saw, okay, they're building this. This is, there were some bad plays. He took a couple of big hits and lost his helmet twice. Terry McLaurin didn't have a catch till the end of the third quarter. But there was, you can see they're building and they're like, this could be a small job training. And it didn't look. I mean, yeah, he wasn't. Peyton Manning went 3-13 this first season with the Bears, so you never know. But he didn't look overmatched. Tampa Bay does have a pretty decent defense, and so there's stuff to build on. So it'll be interesting to watch the first few weeks as they continue to get into rhythm. Same thing. Rookie quarterback played a handful of series in the preseason. It's going to take a few weeks based on it. So there's a lot of positive. What do I expect from the Jets tomorrow night? I expect to be surprised one way or the other. I want to say that last year beating the Bills on Monday night in the opener after losing Rodgers, like they're capable of anything. I also want to say that like I could see San Francisco winning 45-7, just because it's the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be going out there with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder for obvious reasons. Wants to make it past the first series. The Niners were his hometown team, so to speak. There, they and a lot of other people passed on him. So I think he's got a lot of juice for this one. I do think they are a very good team if everything goes right. Not having Hassan Reddick's going to hurt because they basically made that Hassan Reddick for Bryce Huff switch, and Reddick's not there. So, that could hurt, but we'll see. But I think they have a good secondary. I think they have a good offense. Breece Hall's a great back. Garrett Wilson's a great receiver. Rodgers, he's made a living out of. He had Devontae Adams and a bunch of dudes, and turned those bunch of dudes into weapons because Devontae Adams was so good and he knew how to utilize them. That if he can do that with Garrett Wilson, some of these secondary Jets receivers could be, Allen Lazard could be Allen Lazard. Who knows? But I expect to be surprised one way or the other. I just don't know whether it's going to be good or bad. It depends on how they come out of the gate, and what will we see what we expected last year. Now that we're basically back to square one, so it'll be a fun game to watch one way or the other. I know that.
You get the last question.
Do you see Hassan Reddick like just ending this holdout? I mean, I know the Jets really. The Jets like $6 million under the cap, and he's
they don't have a lot of cap space.
That's what I'm saying. Like
the thing with it is, and I hate to say this because again, Hassan Reddick's a Temple guy, so he's cool with me forever. He had that monster season in Philly 2 years ago, but like he was like a pretty good player, and then came to a system where he had a monster season, and then decided he was. I don't want to say if he was better than he was, but like, is Hassan Reddick that guy from 2022? Or is Hassan Reddick the guy that played in Arizona and was pretty useful and just happened to have a career season and a contract, first year of a new contract? I mean, the guy's making $15 million this year in the third year of that deal. I mean, is $15 million the going rate for an outside linebacker, edge rusher who's going to get you 10 to 12 sacks? Mm-hmm. Maybe. Does he deserve more than that? I don't know if the record necessarily shows that. I think he had a really good season in Arizona. He had a pretty good season in Carolina and got that contract. So I don't think he's outperformed his last two seasons versus the 2 seasons before his contract. I don't think he's outperformed them per se, especially since, the 1 year in Arizona, he wasn't even a starter full time. He was kind of a gadget player for the first half of the season. So, I mean, what did the Jets do? He holds out. All right, then he's gone. Like, cool. Like, it's not like this is a guy that's been a linchpin of their team. I don't want to say they don't care, but they've never played a game with Hassan Reddick on the field. So why are they going to pay him now without ever seeing him, especially after he declined last year after having that monster season and now still want, like, how about you put up some numbers and then go get, in your age 30 season, I think it is, he's going to be next year. How about you put up some numbers and then go get that bag, as opposed to like, hey, look, I got the 1 year. Like, it doesn't work for a 30-year-old edge rusher in the NFL.
just on the Eagles side of things, it makes me wonder how you replace 27 sacks of Hassan Reddick with what you got now.
Well, that's why they tweaked the defense a little bit.
Right.
Zach Bond had the Zach Bond game Friday night.
Tackles the other night.
I mean, that was
pulled out.
That was I looked at the stat sheet. I'm like, he's 15 tackles. Wow. And they've got some young linebackers there. They've tried to really, I think, replace that quality with quantity, which is why they have so many edges on the roster, and they're using that like crazy DT rotation. And it's for them, it's going to be more the scheme than the player. I think Reddick was just that guy. Like he kind of got lost in the shuffle and came off the edge, and all of a sudden he's there in your face and he's got you. And obviously Brandon Graham's slowing down a little bit, and this is his last year. But Josh Sweat, and that's why they went out and got Bryce Huff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to try to do it with quantity and just like, okay, we're going to have 4 guys play 15 to 20 snaps rather than 2 or 3 play 30 plus, and see if we can kind of just keep the speed of the game going. Obviously last year the defense took a step backwards. Part of that was the secondary, to be honest.
Right.
But they looked okay. Bryce Huff didn't really do much Friday night. But also Jordan Love is one of the more mobile quarterbacks they're going to see. So, I mean, if Daniel Jones puts in the performance today when they play the Eagles the first time, that team's going to get him. I mean, it's going to make Strahan McNabb look like practice.
Just from your insight, what's your take of Devin White? I mean, not playing and just the rumors swirling around about him.
I mean, again, it's, when it comes to that same thing, it's like the same thing as Reddick, right? It's like, okay, we signed him to a 1-year deal. We got this. Like, he's not a linchpin in it. He's never played it down for the team. So, if it's a $7 million mistake, it's a $7 million mistake. Mm-hmm. If they can trade him and get something for him, like whatever. Him not going to Brazil at all. I mean, he was limited early in the week, didn't practice later in the week, and just didn't even go. Like that says something. But I mean, it also says that, Nakobe Dean's finally coming on, and Jeremiah Trotter is learned quickly. And, Fangio, Vic Fangio's not a neophyte on that side of the ball. It's not,
right.
It's not last year with Sean Desai where he's been in a sort of position, but he's still young. Fangio's been around forever. He's seen it all. He's done it all. So, if Fangio wasn't seeing in the preseason what he wanted to see out of White, even though him and Bond were kind of working as the ones in that system, okay, let's just move on. This isn't going to work. This isn't what we want. Let's figure out a way to cut bait and move on. If we get something for him, we get something for him. If not, it's a few $1 million mistake. And, they only play 2 linebackers at a time anyway. So.
True.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Lou Dipietro. Mid-Atlantic Digital Lead. I got to get all this in. At Odyssey Sports, at WFAN 660, at Sports Radio WIP, at 1067 The Fan, at Team 980. He is an ex-Paul Heyman guy. He is a chicken parm enthusiast. Who doesn't like chicken parm, ladies and gentlemen?
Right.
He's TJ's dad. His opinions are his own. Say hello to Brandon Tierney for me. He and I used to do sports radio 25 years ago for like 3 months in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's where he got his start.
Okay.
Thanks for joining. Yeah.
I'll give BT your love. I'll send him a text right now. As a matter of fact, I'm like, why are you texting me at 9:00 at night? Sorry it took me so long to get on.
That's
guys.
okay.
There's just so much stuff going on that
no problem.
We'll
completely lost track of time. So
we'll let the first month go by. We'll have to get you back on, pick your brain about these teams because things are in flux. It's always changing. I think the Giants are going to stink. I think the Commanders will be maybe 5-12, somewhere in there, although Fuji thinks they're going to be the surprise team in the NFC, which I don't. And I think the Eagles will get back to basics and, they'll do their thing. And with the Jets, look, the season's going to go as Aaron Rodgers' health goes. So
100%. That's the way it did last year. And if If it's the same thing as last year, only with Aaron Rodgers instead of Zach Wilson and company, that's got to be good for 3 wins right off the bat, and there's a playoff team.
Lou, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks,
Enjoy
bro.
the
Thanks.
enjoy it.
Chopping it up.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lou.
Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Lou Dipietro. What else? Is there anything else you want to discuss, Fuji, before we call it a show? I know we didn't get into the Chiefs or the Eagles game. I'm a little concerned about the Chiefs running game. I know you've got your concerns about the Eagles game from the other night. I mean, it wasn't one like they ran away with it. I mean, they had to earn the W.
No, they had to scratch your claw. I don't know. Team doesn't play in the preseason. We'll see. I think they got a shot at beating Atlanta pretty good. A lot of games were close today. As you said, the second half, the earlier games kind of just started getting closer. But, it's week 1, and we'll see how this Rams-Lions game plays out. And looking forward to the Jets-49ers. Really, what does, the telltale sign is what can Rodgers do now? He's coming off a pretty serious injury, and I don't know. I just think his age.
Put it all together.
That's my thing talking to me again.
No, I just think his age is kind of against him. Niners are, coming off of overtime Super Bowl loss, and I'm sure they're chopping at the bit. Trent Williams wants to get out there and knock some heads around on that offensive line. And I don't know. I think on paper you got a pretty good heavyweight fight tomorrow. 2 top defenses, but 2 stellar offenses. But it's all going to come down to if Rodgers can stay healthy.
Who's your pick tomorrow?
I'm going to have to go with the Niners because, you're the home team, defending NFC champions, and, I'm sure they're going to come out fighting with a chip on their shoulder. You lost in overtime where you could have put Kansas City away, but, got to give the chance to, credit where it's due, even though you don't like them. If you don't like Mahomes, Kelsey, Taylor Swift, which please don't put her out there because, just don't even sell it anymore. It's already been sold. Find another novelty. Anything with Taylor Swift.
If anybody wants to know, late in the second, the Lions are tied at 3 apiece. All those offensive weapons, and it's 3-3.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fuji and I will be back on here Wednesday from 8 to 9. We're not going to recap this past week. It's already been done. Fuji and I will be talking about other stuff, Dak Prescott's contract, some other contract, what we think of the new kickoff rule. We've seen it enough now. We're not going to discuss that now. We'll get into it on Wednesday. And then we will get into the week 2 analysis, and we will make our picks. So, again, I want to thank my man Mike Fuji for always being on me as my co-host. You can tell them where they can get a hold of you or check you out, Fuji.
Check me out on YouTube, Facebook Live. I do my show normally Wednesday nights, but no show this Wednesday at the 50 with my man Al Norfleet and myself, Eagles podcast. Be on next week with Rob Motti and TJ Jones from the State of the Saints podcast from the Eagles face those New Orleans Saints in week 3. So check us out. Al Norfleet, Mike Fuji at the 50, Fuji and Fleet.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for another edition of Endzone to Endzone. As again, from Mike Fuji and myself, Ryan Neff. We thank everybody that tunes in. We want to thank Lou Dipietro again. We'll pick his brain after about maybe the 6 or 7 weeks, see where all these teams are. And as always, tell your friends, Tell your representatives. Tell your electoral vote people. I don't care.
Spread the word.
That's right. So for Mike Fuji and myself, we are going to sign off until Wednesday.
Go Birds.
It's making me crazy because I can smell it. It's in the air, and I
How's
smell
this?
it.
Who gets
Do you
smell
smell it?